Okay. Right. It's doing it. Okay, good. So next job is to just quickly share the screen. Share. So I'm hoping you can see some slides now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. So welcome everyone, and just to explain who I am, you've got my name underneath you anyway, but underneath my picture anyway, I'm Andy Brady. I'm a course leader and a senior lecturer at Anglia Ruskin University. I work in the Faculty of Business and Law, based here in Chelmsford. Based for the time being at home, as I'm sure a lot of you are as well. And thanks very much for coming along to this hastily arranged webinar in these most difficult of times. And it feels difficult for me as a university lecturer who generally actually works quite a lot online. I can only imagine how hard it must be for some of you in some of your organisations dealing with some of the most vulnerable people, responding to emergencies, situations. You know, you have our admiration and support, and particularly thanks to those people who've come along today in what must be really difficult times for you. So, as I say, I work at Anglia Ruskin University. This is our Cambridge campus. We have a Cambridge campus, a Chelmsford campus, and a couple of smaller ones in London and Peterborough. And we've got around 35,000 students from pretty much every country. I think around 170 countries last time I checked. And we have other centres of learning in different continents all over the world. We are an ex-polytechnic, a young university, what sometimes called post-92 universities. We won the Entrepreneurial University of the Year award in 2014. We've been identified as a World Rising Star by the Times Higher Education Supplement, and we're in the top 350 universities worldwide, according to the THE as well. We recently opened off our medical school, one of the first medical schools to open for a while in the UK, and the first in Essex. So we're very much what you might call upwardly mobile, I think, in the words of our former Vice Chancellor. So I just wanted to quickly go through what I want to do today, and happy to be diverted and subverted from my good intentions, but here we go. I'm going to tell you a bit about the course, the CMDA Charity Degree Apprenticeship, which we've recently launched. I want to tell you a little bit of where it came from and give you an idea of our track record in both the apprenticeship area and our own charity and social enterprise track record. Crucially, answer any questions you might have. Actually, could someone just ask a pretend question now, and I'll see if it pops up in the chat. This is a test. I'm going to get 20 questions now, and I should have nominated someone. Right. Yeah, something happened. Yeah, something flashing at the top there, so that's good. Right, okay. We use a different platform. We don't use Zoom all the time for our stuff, so things that we're used to on Big Blue Button, which is our other one. Not quite the same on Zoom. And also, I want to convince you that it's a really good idea that you either come on our course yourself and or if you have staff who are interested in degree apprenticeships and you're a levy payer or a smaller organisation, then you know, we want to see you on our course. Let's not beat about the bush. Right. So we'll start with an origin story, and you know, from the Joker to Wonder Woman to Better Call Saul, we all love an origin story. So what I want to start with is how this degree came about, and I won't spend too much time on that, but just to give you an idea of where our background and our strengths in this area, our capability. So ARU has had existing degree apprenticeships. We were one of the first universities to really ramp up the offer in terms of degree apprenticeships a few years ago when they launched. And that's generally done through a unit in the organisation called Degrees at Work, and they have expertise in online learning and in apprenticeships and in degree apprenticeships too. We also have and have had for many years now, a dedicated team in our Faculty of Business and Law, which I head up, working on qualifications, short courses, longer courses, accredited courses, non-accredited courses. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But basically working in the charity sector. And we wondered what would happen if we could combine the expertise that we had in degree apprenticeships and that existing focus that we had on charity and social enterprise into a new qualification for the sector. And this is a little bit of background. We already had this Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship, which is a higher level course in various forms. It's actually something which we already ran as a BA online, and then that was accredited as a CMDA apprenticeship. And that's been running in various different formats, blended, distance learning, pure distance learning, and face-to-face over the years since 2011. It was designed with employers and accredited by the Chartered Management Institute, and it's a level 6 qualification, so it's equivalent to it is a university degree, which meets the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship standard, which is approved by the government department that deals with business at the moment. So we have a track record there. You know, several. It must be hundreds now, I think, of people who have gone through our degree apprenticeship programs. We also offer kind of level 7 stuff as well, which Erica knows more about than I do. And this was something which I think stands us in good stead in terms of our capability in what isn't always an easy process, I would say, in terms of the bureaucracy that's perhaps attached to degree apprenticeships. It's quite knotty sometimes to untangle, and I think the fact that we've had this experience and that we are a long-running provider of degree apprenticeships means that as far as possible we've managed to streamline that process and make it easier for people to take part and to be supported and scaffolded as they go through that journey. So the bit I mentioned before about third sector stuff, that's called Third Sector Futures, which I set up in 2008 at the university. We've been working with charities and social enterprises since then. You can see in the corner here one of our conferences. We run and have run the biggest regional conference in the East of England region for many years now. There's about 200 people at that particular event. We do other smaller events as well throughout the year. We do research, we do consultancy, particularly around social impact measurement, social impact assessment, but mostly and most of all, we do learning programs for the sector, which is not too surprising given that we're a university. And here are some of the products of our learning programs. These are some of our successful charity students who've graduated in our Cert HE, which I'll tell you a little about in a second. And from looking at these people, there's people from the full diversity of the sector, people from charities and social enterprises in homelessness, domestic violence, social care, international students as well. This lady here is from Georgia in the Caucasus, and she set up her own foundation and used to fly in for the course as well. So we've got this, this course which people are positive about and which has been running since about 2013. We've had graduates going through, and we've had about 150 people now go through this course, 2 of whom are here. So if you want a direct quote from either Michelle or Matt, then you can ask them about the course. But they've both done not just the Cert HE, which is a 2-year course, but moved on to do higher levels as well, foundation degree levels, and hopefully I'm going to hope that they send some of their staff on this course as well. So basically, Third Sector Futures main event is this Cert HE in Charity and Social Enterprise Management. We've delivered it to people from all of the English regions, all of the nations of the UK, and several of the other nations of the world, including Russia and Georgia and Ireland as well. And it's a work-based course. So again, this kind of capability, this kind of work, this is aimed at existing people who are already working in the sector and wanted to support their leadership and management with an accredited qualification. So that's what the background is on the Cert HE side. So the rationale basically is you put these two sets of capability together and you come up with a new qualification, which is the CMDA charity, which is what we'll be talking about today. And just listed on there are some of the other people who work in the Third Sector Futures team, who include Zoe Amar, who's head of the Charity Digital Code, well-known authors and practitioners, consultants from the third sector, based all over the UK. So what we've come up with is this CMDA qualification based in the charity sector and aimed at charity professionals. It lasts for 4 years, because it's part-time. Each year has 3 trimesters, which is a fancy word for term. I don't know why we call them trimesters as opposed to terms. They always make me think of pregnancy. I don't know why when they say that. But anyway, trimesters it is, and each year has 3 trimesters. So basically it's slightly stretched in terms of the academic year, but because it's part-time, it's also stretched a little bit in how long the duration of the course is 4 years as opposed to 3. And that's to allow you to get the 360 credits, 120 at each level, level 4, 5, and 6. Level 4 is important, particularly for the degree apprenticeship side, but they won't go towards your final degree. Level 5 and 6 are the modules which do count towards the final degree award and the level of that award that we can give you. At levels 4 and 5, it's quite a nice, easy structure, quite a simple structure in that we generally just do 1 module per trimester. So each module has 30 credits on the whole, and each will do 1 of those every term. So you can focus exclusively on that particular topic. The only exception to that is in level 6, where we do a dissertation, basically, or a work-based major project, which is worth 45 credits. And then there's a 15 credit one, which we squeeze in alongside that to make it all add up. And as I say, it's 30 credits per trimester. Right, that thing came down at the top. Just going to see if there's any chat questions that I didn't. Okay. It's not actually letting me see the chat, so I don't know if anyone has asked any questions. Erica, perhaps you can wave at me if they do, and you can get a different view up. So that's the structure. As I say, it's fairly straightforward, and here are the modules which we want to offer you. So the structure, it starts in September, this intake. We already piloted this with a small group. We've got 5 students on the course at the moment. Some from Red Cross, British Red Cross, some from MS Society as well, and one from a hospice, an independent hospice in North London as well. So they're going through that programme. We did hope that Malcolm from British Red Cross would be able to drop in and say a few words about his experience so far, but as you can imagine, and many of you work for British Red Cross, he's being pulled in several different directions at the moment and was unable to join us. So we can perhaps hook you up with him a bit later if you want to ask him questions. So the first year, we have an introduction to the course, which is understanding about work-based learning, reflection, thinking about your learning styles, that kind of thing. Moving on, looking at managing people, customers, and markets. There's a combination of HR and marketing in that module. And then a look at sustainable business and managing sustainably in trimester 3. And then we have the first of our unique third sector bespoke modules at the end of level 4, which is paradoxically in some ways at the beginning of the second year. And that's third sector leadership and management. And in that module, what we do is, this is something that we've tried and tested on our charity course. We look at what it means to be a leader in the third sector. Is it different? Is it unique? What does it mean? What do we even mean by the third sector? Looking at the charity sector, looking at the different profiles of organisations, how government policy interacts and impacts on the sector. And as I say, examining, well, what does it mean to be a manager? What does it mean to be a leader? But also, is there something unique about the sector? And we would argue that there is. Managing for impact as well as financial sustainability is a different thing to managing for pure financial bottom line. And whether that's the different kind of income sources that you have in the third sector, the vast variety and multiplicity of stakeholders that you have to deal with, or whether it's something as bespoke as managing volunteers. All of those things throw up different challenges, and we think there is a unique set of challenges for third sector leaders. And what we do in this module is combine existing leadership theory with theories around what it means to lead in our world, if you like. So that's level 4. In level 5, I'm not going to go through all of these modules because I'm aware of leaving some time for questions and things. So there are various different topics. I've highlighted the ones which are particularly relevant for you guys as potential charity CMDA students. In level 5, it's a module on social enterprise and looking really at different income streams, which I think you'd be fairly unique as an organisation if you weren't having to think about income streams, particularly at the moment. It's going to be a completely different set of challenges, obviously, in the near future. But I think the drive towards and the necessity to embrace social enterprise and understand it, what can it do for your organisation, but just as importantly, with some organisations it's not really suitable for. It's not suitable to replace your fundraising model with one based at a more commercial approach. So looking at all of the ins and outs of social enterprise in that level 5 module, which is trimester 1 of 2022. Gosh, that sounds a long way away. And looking into the final year, as I mentioned, that gets a bit messy because we've got the major project in there, which spans 2 trimesters. But again, that's something which you can make bespoke for your organisation, because it will be a topic of your choosing. Generally, it's obviously work-based, so it's going to be on your own organisation. But this really gives you an opportunity, I think, to extend and deepen that tailored third sector nature of the course. Before we finish up with the final module that we've inserted from our background of charity, our portfolio of charity courses, which is scaling up and growing impact. So impact is something which perhaps people in other sectors talk about, but in third sector terms, it's fundamental to what it is that we do. And thinking about how we can grow impact through collaboration, through partnership, through giving stuff away, through branching, through scaling up in terms of physical, geographical areas that you enter into, in terms also of selecting and evaluating those projects which do have most impact and prioritising those in the time of scarce resources as against those which are nice to haves but not necessarily essential. Really fundamental, I think, to look at impact, and I think that's a useful springboard as you finish the programme to taking on that leadership role, which we hope you will either have already or be going on to as a result of the qualification. So that's the structure of the course. I'm conscious I've been kind of going on uninterrupted for a while. Has anyone got any questions so far while I get my breath back? Please shout if you have. Why can't I see the chat thing? That's so annoying.
Hello, Andy.
Hi, Matt.
So I was just, you may come on to all of this, but I'm just interested in entry requirements, costs, obviously, and I kind of got in my head that it was more like an apprenticeship, as in, you know, when you get people in at a younger age or without much experience, then you pay them less, and then, you know, as they grow through the role, you pay them a bit more and all that. But that sounds a bit different to what I thought I was coming on to.
Erica, have you got answers to those questions? I could answer. I think I know, but I'd rather let the expert. Erica's a colleague from Anglia Ruskin who is in the Degrees at Work team, so she handles degree apprenticeships all the time, and I just bow to her superior knowledge.
Thanks, Andy. With regards to degree apprenticeships, they're open to anybody at any stage of their career. So you can offer it to somebody who's you know, a manager who has been a manager for maybe a couple of years, who maybe need upskilling, or you could offer it to somebody who you see as a potential manager of the future, so maybe 4 or 5 years' time. But their salary wouldn't change at all. They remain on the same salary. Obviously, if you're introducing it as a new job role, so you're offering it as a trainee manager to entice people to come and work for you, then obviously it's up to you what you set as the apprenticeship wage. But there is an apprenticeship wage that can start as low as £3.50, but we don't recommend it. But it's up to the organisation what you offer apprenticeships. They're working on a basis of 4 days a week rather than 5 days a week, because you have the 20%, so that can be allocated with regards to how they work when it's a new job. So sometimes salary can be reflected, but no, the salary doesn't change at all, in answer to your question, Matt. Was there any other questions you had around that?
Yeah, Matt's in a smaller organisation, so the price thing is interesting as well, I think. Yeah,
so the price, if you're in a small organisation of less than 50 people, you won't be paying into the apprenticeship levy, which will mean that, luckily for your organisation, you only pay 5%, which will be paid by the organisation, not yourself. So the cost is, I think the degree is 22,000. So for non-levy payers, you'll pay 1,100 for the 4-year course. So generally about £200-300 a month, a year, which is brilliant. And I just saw someone put a question up: what if you leave halfway through? What if someone leaves halfway through? If you leave halfway through the course and payments stop, you can continue the degree with another company. If you were to go with another company, you just let us know, and you have up to 4 weeks to swap companies, swap roles, and you continue with your studying. But do give us a heads up so we can monitor that for you. If it took longer than 4 weeks to swap between companies, then you can restart the course again and skip the modules that you've already done. If you were to gain credits, then we can make sure that you don't repeat those credits, but you would have to start again on another cohort. Was a question to Michelle.
Okay, thanks very much, Erica, and do chip in, people, if you have questions. I think Erica's monitoring the chat as well, so we can pause at various intervals. I think like you, Matt, I imagined we were involved in what are they called, Trailblazer group for a degree apprenticeship for the voluntary sector when there were a few of those kind of starting up a few years ago. And how I imagined it working would be that larger levy-paying charities would use this as a way of getting graduates before they're graduates, if you like. So getting school leavers, putting them on a degree apprenticeship program. The attraction, obviously, for the new starter is that they'll be able to do a degree for nothing, which is fantastic, and with a very strong likelihood of having a job during it and also beyond then. What we found actually is that to a lot of the levy payers, there are people in their organisation already, and they're prioritising them. But I imagine that model you were envisioning in the future, I think, and that I was as well, as degree apprenticeships become more embedded and more part of people's expectations and understanding, and as less people perhaps want to get in debt in terms of student fees for the mainstream degrees that we offer, then I think that might happen. But at the moment, it's generally, I think Erica can confirm, but it's generally people who are already in organisations who want to develop their careers who we're seeing take up this offer.
So can I just can I carry on that conversation slightly? So obviously that's your general experience now, but is the space to break that mold of it? And I mean, I kind of viewed it as a grow your own, senior managers, through a route like this, because it is quite hard to recruit. Well, it has been up till now, quite hard to recruit and retain, good people, particularly I'm in Southend, and where, people go up to London and get 20,000 more if they commute to London. Or,
so you're thinking of how you can make it more attractive and an offer. I think that's something.
I've got children going into sort of university age now and thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to be saddled with all this debt. I wouldn't want my children to work for me, obviously, but there might be some other families where they don't want to saddle themselves with debt, but actually to come in at, minimum wage perhaps, and then get a degree and do an amazing, valuable job and make a difference to the community. This could be an amazing opportunity. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, which is quite different, I think, to where I thought you were. What you were saying.
What we do with organisations is we can help you with any job vacancies that you have, we will advertise the job vacancy through our website, and we have a database of anybody that wants to work or who wants to do a degree in management. So we would then contact them with the job vacancy that you have. We will work with you however you want, but that will also go, that job vacancy will also go on the National Apprenticeship website, and you have a lot of people looking on that on a daily basis, looking to do a degree apprenticeship. So they'll put in the area that they live, and then it will expand it for about 20 miles on all the universities that are offering jobs through the management degree. So you will get more people applying for the job through offering the Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship. And I can also send you examples of how companies offer it. So we have some companies that offer it like an academy. So, you know, come and work for us. We're going to develop you, and we're going to, you know, we're looking for 6 or 7 people to join our Academy of Degree Apprentices. It's the new way of it's sort of taken over from the graduate schemes in a way. It's like, because you're making them become a graduate, and so it is a massive selling point for a job to offer it, for sure. And we are inundated with people wanting to find a degree apprenticeship. So we are welcoming more companies that are going to offer this through a new job vacancy, because we need it. We need to offer it more, because more people are recognising that they want to do a degree apprenticeship and work, because they're getting the degree funded. So that will attract the younger generation, I'd say, people that are early in their careers. So we can definitely help you with that, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be short of applicants at all.
Yeah.
But I think obviously if there was 1 or maybe 2 that were doing it more in my style, and then the rest of the people on the cohort were perhaps like we were on the Cert HE, you know, quite, you know, managers that were already doing all the things, and it was reaffirming our learning, then that's really different, isn't it? If I got somebody that's a 19, 20-year-old that has clearly potential but maybe doesn't have the economic resources to go to university, that's one type of person. It's very different where I was, you know, 5-6 years ago when I started doing the course with Andy, and already had quite a good management career already. So,
I think that's your call, though, isn't it? I think that's your. I do want to move on a bit, because not everyone's from that, but it's really useful questions, Matt. I think it's up to you if you think someone's up to it, and it's up to you if you're going to plan to recruit people in to do the degree apprenticeship or to use it for existing staff. But we have got the flexibility in terms of the intake model, as Erica's saying, to help you with either of those different approaches. So hopefully that's clear enough. And obviously we plan to do a follow-up webinar, I should mention that now, in a couple of months, if people have gone down the application route, just to check that everyone's okay, and to go through any challenges or issues people are having. So we can definitely support, and Erica, I know, is also happy to support people with any individual knotty problems that they've got, or particular approaches they want to take for this program. So just moving on with a bit more with the generic stuff. This is how we work. So in terms of the modules, you've seen that we have 4 30-credit modules per year. Most of the modules on the course are 30 credits. They're broken down into topics. So we use a learning management system called Canvas. And we've used that as an institution now for about 3 years. It works. It has all of the material for the modules is on Canvas. In terms of the degree apprenticeship, we also offer 2 face-to-face workshops each trimester as well, where you can go through some of the nitty-gritty bureaucracy side of things, but also some of the content for the course. But if you can't or don't want to go to those workshops, everything you need is actually already online. Each of the topics lasts generally a week or a couple of weeks, and it will set out activities to be carried out, including all of the things listed there. And crucially, trying to foster and encourage people to discuss the topics in the online forum. That's not always the easiest thing to do. It's easier to discuss things when you're in a physical space at the same time with a group of people, rather than someone putting something on at midnight and then 3 weeks later someone else adds to the discussion. It's obviously difficult. We are We have, on the charity course, particularly pioneered the use of webinars to offer that opportunity to catch up, and we video those as well. So as much as possible, trying to offer all the advantages of a flexible distance learning course, but injecting back in as much of the face-to-face experience that we can as well, and giving people the opportunity to meet up with colleagues from the same cohort as they are in. And obviously there's supported by our library, and a lot of the books are now available as ebooks and e-journal articles. We link you to websites for other material as well. So it's an online course, but injected, as I say, interspersed with face-to-face opportunities for face-to-face learning and experience as well. Talking about assessment, you'll be disappointed to hear there are no exams on the CMDA. Sorry to upset you. Generally, people don't like exams, and they do prefer continuous assessment. That's what we offer on all of the different modules in different kinds of formats. I think it can be daunting when you're going into an academic experience if you haven't had experience of higher education before. Once people start talking about Harvard referencing and critical analysis and that kind of thing, people can get a little bit apprehensive about that approach and those kind of examples of jargon. But the good thing is, as much as possible, you'll find that the assessment types, the assessment methods we use resemble things that you would have to be doing for work anyway. Quite often we'll ask you to do a presentation, for example, but record that presentation, upload it to YouTube, and we will assess you through how you do that presentation, the content of that presentation. I'm sure most of you have to do that in a workplace scenario, as with these other things, case studies, plans, reports. It's not the same, it's going to be different. There is that demand for academic rigor, so we are looking for people to find and use interesting and diverse sources to put into their reports and assignments that they do, but they and to reference them appropriately, but they do, at least on the surface, resemble things that you will have to do for work. So the jump shouldn't be too traumatic for anyone who's thinking of university as a scary place where you're going to have to do kind of deep philosophical essays. There's a bit of that, but not overwhelming amounts. And you can, the beauty of a work-based course is that you can also bring to the table and bring to the discussions and to your own assignments your knowledge of your own organisation. Going on to look at that. So who are we looking at with the CMDA? This is stuff that is based on the guidelines. Professional managers, people who want to be managers. Obviously with our course we're focusing on the third sector, but we do across the board offer other courses for private and public sector managers as well. All sizes of organisations, so we're looking at from SMEs right up to some of the big giant organisations of the sector, including people like British Red Cross, Oxfam, whoever, and the roles, typical roles might be manager, senior manager, head of department, operations manager, project manager. Anyone who's got kind of management responsibilities is who we're aiming this at. And what we're trying to produce, there's a quote from the Chartered Management Institute, as someone who can take responsibility for people, projects, operations and services to deliver long-term organisational success with the professional recognition of their ability to deliver impact, behave ethically, and to demonstrate their commitment to continual learning and development. So they're the kind of people we're aiming at and the kind of people that we want to produce through the course. You get basically, as well as the degree apprenticeship, you get a full BA honours management degree as well. And I think that's important to stress. It's not a kind of different qualification, it's an additional qualification. And you also, at the moment, we offer this Chartered Manager status as well, and membership, which I think you have to pay to renew in future years, but it's included. Is that right, Erica, in the first instance, membership of the Chartered Management Institute?
Yes, that's
and
right.
You can go around the place saying that you are a Chartered Manager, which I think is quite a cool thing to be able to say. So I think that's the kind of nuts and bolts, where it came from, how it all works. I guess the other question is, why do we need it? I wouldn't dream of assuming why you as individuals might want to go on the course, or why you might want to send people on the course, but why do we as Anglia Ruskin think that this is important enough to offer as a separate course, and why I think society needs it is something else as well. So the reason that we think charity and social enterprise education is important is basically the state of things. And even before we had the recent pandemic, there were some shocking statistics about the state of the UK. We're the fifth biggest economy, or were the fifth biggest economy in the world, sometimes fifth, sometimes sixth, and yet 30% of children living in poverty. Men's wages in particular, women's not quite as badly affected, which is interesting, but since 2008 there was a 7% drop in real wages. House prices, on the other hand, were rising by 9% per annum. Not to mention the environmental issues in terms of World Health Organization pollution levels being exceeded in many UK towns and cities, the obesity crisis, and the issues around mental health, whereby 21% of Britons have considered suicide. That's why, for Anglia Ruskin, for me, our passion is about changing the world, and what we want to do is support the people who are already equally passionate as us to do that. And that's why the course that I mentioned before exists, and that's why we're moving this charity and social enterprise training and learning expertise into the CMDA space as well. And just these are some of the UK things, but in terms of global issues we're facing, or were facing even last year, the wealth of the bottom half of the world population is equivalent to the top 26 richest people in the world, so massive levels of inequality. 26 people owning as much as 3.5 billion people in the world, and without really even mentioning here the issue of climate change, whereby we're looking at a window of around 18 months where something really serious has to be done. It might be happening at the moment, actually, but to keep climate change to survivable levels and restore nature to equilibrium, we're talking about a very short window of time. So these, and I'm sure in your own organisations and your own missions and visions for your organisations, you have equally compelling things that you want to change about the world, and in your own motivation and the reasons you work in the sector, you'll have equally compelling reasons to sign up and want to change the world in your own way. But we're passionate about that too. And in terms of what's happened as a result of COVID-19, we're already talking about millions of jobs being lost worldwide. We've heard a lot, and the effects generally so far have been talked about and mapped in the developed world, in Italy, in France, in Spain, in the US, in China. If you think about the potential impact in developing countries, it's almost impossible to comprehend. And I think it's been pointed out by the RSA. The RSA in a recent paper said that wherever you are in the world, it's impossible to imagine fighting this impact just by government measures alone. Our sector is so important. So where elderly people are isolated, social workers are helping them survive. We've talked about homelessness already, homeless people being at risk of transmitting infections to one another. Homeless charities are on the front line trying to support those people. And it's the charities and social enterprises which are at the front line of that, which are also likely to be taking a £4 billion hit to their income over the next 12 weeks. So I think what I'm trying to say through all of this is that we need our sector, that we're passionate as a university, as you are, we're passionate about working in and with the third sector, with charities, with social enterprises. And that passion and that commitment is heightened all the more, I think, by the potential task that we're going to face, rebuilding, not just coping now with the effects of this pandemic, but rebuilding society, hopefully in a better and more robust way, which includes everybody in the future. And that's not going to be easy. It's easy to talk about. It's easy to get to go out on your doorstep and clap the NHS there's going to be a lot of real hard work, and we're going to need leaders, not just at the top of organizations, but throughout organizations who can play this kind of role. So just to leave you in terms of my input for now, with a quote about the difference between management and leadership. So we're looking for leaders, we're looking to give you the management skills, but also to progress into leadership activity as well. And I think this quote nicely sums up. It's a little bit academic-ese, but basically, if you're a manager, generally you're equipped to deal with the everyday. You know the issue has come up before. There's a kind of manual to deal with that, and you can invoke the standard operating procedure to resolve that previously experienced problems. What we're faced with now are what are sometimes called wicked problems, or what Grintier calls novel, new, or recalcitrant, kind of naughty problems which keep coming back, which refuse to be solved. And I think as a society and as a country, we're faced with many of these novel and recalcitrant problems over the next few years. So what we want to do is to give you the opportunity to take on those leadership roles and to help you through that period. So that's the kind of top thumping part of the day over. But this is genuine stuff, and as I say, you're on the front line. You experience this more vividly. If we had more time, we've compressed this to an hour because webinars more than an hour tend to be characterized by people dropping off and going to other webinars that they've got to go to. If we had more than an hour, I'd be really interested to hear from you about what the challenges are you're facing at the moment, and how we can support you to develop your leadership capability. We haven't got time for that. We have got time for some questions at the end, and so perhaps some of your insight and what you've learned so far through the crisis might surface in there. However, that's me done in terms of the PowerPoint, and I'll just going to stop sharing the screen, go back to the gallery view, and invite anyone to ask any questions.
There is some questions on there already.
Oh, okay. I'm just stopping my share. Hold on. Right. Oh, okay. Right.
Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, I haven't done the very easy one. I haven't done the exercise. I take it this was a sample one, Matt. I didn't do my Joe Wicks at 9 a.m. I need much more in the way of tea or coffee before I can start jumping around. Has anyone been doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's hard.
Is it good?
It's hard.
You ache in places you didn't know you had places now. Yeah. We're going for long walks. That's what we're doing. But okay, so where are we? We did so Leanne's question was answered, right, Erica?
Yes, I believe
Molly,
so. Leanne, was there anything else you wanted to ask about that? Did we cover that for you?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I kind of just know that a lot of our managers who are looking to sort of progress in their organisation may only stay 1 or 2 years. So I wanted to just know that it was pretty seamless for them to, if they were going to another levy paying organisation, to actually transfer the apprenticeship scheme with them. But it sounds like it is, and it's fine.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and we can help with that as well. We can help with the progression. And as I say, most organisations, large charities are levy payers, and this course, we are working with a lot of the charities now, so it's all set up and ready to go. We've contracted with quite a few charities already, so people can just be added on quite quickly.
And you also mentioned the levy cost for small organisations, but obviously we're slightly bigger and we do pay into the apprenticeship levy. So I just wanted to know if the 22,000 is fully covered by the apprenticeship levy.
Absolutely. So everything is covered, the endpoint assessment, and so you'll be charged on a monthly basis, minus 20% that gets held back for the endpoint assessment, which will come out after the 4 years. So I think you're roughly being charged about £400 a month for the course, I think. And as I say, that's divided between the 4 years, so that covers your apprenticeship levy. We are happy to help you work out how many people you can put on a course if you were to give us your figure, because sometimes over the 4 years you might want to add people sporadically over the 4 years and not add everybody all in one go. So we can help with the figures as well, because we're quite used to being given you know, if we have 100,000 to spend and we want 10 apprentices, how can it work? So we're happy to help you with that as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
A question from Molly, which is about how on earth, you want to say almost, how have people completed while working full time?
Yeah.
And we've only just started on our first intake. That started in September. So in terms of my experience with the charity course that we've run for several years now, it is a real challenge. And I'm sure my ex-students would confirm that, but people can do it. I think there's a whole piece of, there's a whole session to run on how you actually juggle your work, life and studying. The advantage though, and Erica will have more experience of how this has worked out for people in practice, is the need for your employer to provide you with 1 day per week to study. Could you talk?
It can be 1 day a week.
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
20%, isn't it? Yeah.
It's 20% overall the 4 years. So how your employer wants to distribute that is entirely up to your line manager and you, and it really depends on lots of factors. But you could say it's 1 day a week. I find that a lot of apprentices that's too, people can't do that. So 2 half days, sometimes 2 or 3 hours a day. Depends on your work. And it depends if there's somebody that's going to be shadowing your work as you do the apprentice work. So if there's somebody that's wanting to be developed that's lower line than yourselves and they can cover your work, then that works quite well. So there's a lot of training going on that way. So it's really down to your line manager to sort of discuss it with you. With regards to the people here that are from Red Cross and MenCap, they fully want you to do this. It's encouraged for you to do this. And
MS Society as well, right?
Yes, possibly.
They've changed their person there, haven't they? Yeah, so we don't know yet, right?
Yes, but I'd say maybe it's best to maybe just 1 or 2 of you in a team to do it, not too many, because then 20% of your work time between a team would maybe have an effect on workload. And as long as you get that 20% allocated to you from the beginning, you can do this. If you don't get it allocated and say, I'll fit it in, and you just won't fit it in. And if you're there answering the phone because you're the only person that can answer the phone, you won't do it. So it is challenging, but to begin with, and that's where we can help you, is talking to your line manager and setting this up for you and saying when the best time is. When are your busy times? When are your quiet times? And you might not have quiet times, and it might be that this isn't possible. So we need to know that you have got the time to do it, and we don't want anyone to fail at the first hurdle. So we do sort of really go through that with you and your manager to make sure you can do it, because we want to support you. We want you to get there, and we don't have that many people dropping out due to not fitting the time in, because we try and assess that before.
Yeah. It is a challenge, though. You can't underestimate. It is, I don't want to soft soap it and say it's going to be easy. It does take planning. It takes a bit of selfishness as well. I think what we usually advise people on our course is to say right from the outset, look, as well as the time I've got from my employer, you'll probably need a little bit of additional time. You probably have to claw back some time from your weekends and sacrifice some of the things you might do with family and friends a little bit, maybe 1 night a week. If there are basically infinite ways of doing it.
Good grade,
but you will have to set your stall out early on and say to people, look, this is important for my life. It's my degree. You're not going to have as much as me as you had before I started, and I think that's the case whether you're doing a full-time degree or whether you're doing it part-time. But it's doubly important for part-time people.
Shall I say how I managed it with a Cert HE quickly?
That would be really good, Matt.
So I basically set aside 1 evening a week, normally a Tuesday night, and just thought, well, I'm just going to force myself to do this for sort of 7 till 10 or something. I do work quite quickly, so it was. We just sort of focused on it and got through it, and you have to do all the online interaction and stuff, and and then maybe caught up on a Friday for an hour or 2 just to kind of follow up all the sort of online chats and stuff that happen, and just try to really focus. And obviously when you do the assignments, it then gets a bit crammed, and I had to have a couple of days off, off work at home just to do that, and my employer was very kind because I'm basically I'm my own boss in a way with trustees. So yeah, it's just being quite strict and rigorous.
Assertive. Yeah.
And
I think that's really good. Thanks, Matt.
Holiday breaks and that sort of stuff in between terms, so that's quite nice.
Yeah. Also, can I just say some of the modules that you will get, that will be part of your job role. So say for, I don't know, there might be the work-based project. You might have been given a project to work on at work to do something. So sometimes what you're doing already is you're just evidencing it in your assignments. So some of the modules are going to be more quicker to do because you're going to know them, and others not so because you don't have the knowledge of that one as much. So it will flick between, I think, as well. So
thanks very much, Matt. I just want to get to these last questions because I think that 11 o'clock people will be out the door. So Stacey was thinking about using the 20% during a working week on the apprentice work by helping with objectives to achieve things in your team. It kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of a work-based course, is that you can apply the learning. So when we do projects on leadership and management, we'll have a strategy element in there, or if you're doing a strategic management module, the idea is that you can very much apply it in a work-based setting, and we'll assist you to do that. That can be on a global organizational wide scale, or if you're in charge of a team or a project yourself, then we can narrow that right down to the project level. You don't have to, for example, if you're managing a project in Brentwood in Essex, you don't have to write about Oxfam's global operations, for example. You know, it's something which we can scale up or scale down according to the need. Quickly, Jay, you look like you're at work. Where are you at? Sorry.
Hello, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
I work for Sense.
Oh, okay, right.
I'm working in Lincolnshire at the minute. And
I guess you're a key worker in that sense, right? Thanks for your question. Yeah, I don't know whether we'll be carrying on as normal. The beauty of the online is that it's all online anyway. We are hoping that by September we will be able to hold the face-to-face workshops. As I say, something that we've particularly had a track record in on the charity course is to organise webinars like this, and it might be the case that that first semester we would be replacing face-to-face with a more secure, less risky way of operating, but we've got the capability to do that. And the beauty now is that so is everyone else. So the students didn't always used to know how to do all this kind of stuff, and you spend the first 20 minutes telling people how it all worked. But now we're all Zoomers now, aren't we? I think it's the beauty of what's going on. Yeah, I think, you know, we do all sorts of things. We have a charity and social enterprise summer school, which we've had to cancel this year, which is a lovely event we have in Cambridge. We go to a Cambridge college and you know, have speakers, mix all our different students together from the different cohorts. So lots of nice to have things are obviously under review, but we are more ready than anyone else to switch entirely to this kind of fully online content with so much of the course, or well, all of the course already being available online. I think that's all the questions, but it's 10:57, so we've got time for one more if anyone.
Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear another Andrew Brady.
From MenCap. I don't know if you're aware that I'm on the call because I'm coming up as Andrew Brady for some unknown reason.
Oh no.
That's happened a lot, don't worry. There are at least 2 other people who that's happened to. I think if you click the link from my email this morning.
I did.
That was tailored to my test thing on Zoom. So, you know, in trying to help, I've unwittingly unleashed an army of Andrew Bradys on the world, which is not my intention.
Problem, but I did have a question in the chat pin, and it really was around, you know, describing that process of tailoring. Because while you're tailoring for the charity sector, which is great, it then moves down to another level, which is you are now tailoring for the individual charity. And it was really to get a sense of how you go about that. And that individual tailoring for the specific organisation. So in this particular instance, obviously I'm talking about Royal MenCap Society, and, you know, what's your process for doing that and tailoring specifically for that particular charity?
Yeah, I mentioned about the it's basically through the whole approach of the course being designed for work-based learning. It means that we don't kind of teach a lot of theory and then ask you to do the work-based bit in the assignment. The whole of pedagogical base for the course is work-based. So from the off, we'll be encouraging people to look at their own individual learning styles and that kind of thing, but very much also looking at their own unique set of circumstances, and looking at the organisation, where it fits in the third sector kind of ecosystem and in the wider society level, but having a very strong consciousness of what it is that you're talking about, and encouraging people to look at the internal capabilities of their own organisation from the get-go, also looking at the external environment, the pond that the organisation is swimming in, and having that real sense, which I think appreciate more now, that in larger organisations, people don't necessarily have that idea about other charities that they might work with, or the global picture of their organisation. In a sense, it's quite a useful function of the course to kind of position people where they are, and also their organisations where they fit into that sector, and also the other aspects of the organisation that they're encouraged to explore internally and look at how their organisations work and how they fit in. Not that I'm sure all of your organisations do that wonderfully well. You orientate people and you explain about how they fit into the bigger picture. But I think that's reinforced and entrenched a bit more through doing the course.
Yeah,
so does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sort of thinking about the support and direction that you would give around sort of project work. And because there'll be a range of activity that people can undertake to meet the standard.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's really about the support and direction that people will get to focus, I guess, on the most pertinent areas.
Yeah.
So it's that really, it's almost tailoring that down.
Okay, I get that. So in terms of individual support, you'll have a link tutor who works with your employer and you to make sure that things are going smoothly. And every trimester, you'll have an opportunity to all meet up as a team. So the employer will be the mentor, basically, that you find internally. Everyone also has a personal tutor from Anglia Ruskin, and that will be someone who's involved with the course, who knows and can support you. But each module has an academic lead tutor as well, and that is, their role is key in that. And if I can only speak for how I approach this and how my team approaches, but basically that means making yourself available and proactively reaching out to people who may need support but don't realise it yet as well, just to make sure that everyone's being taken through the process. So it's not just a case that we dump all of the online content on your lap and expect people to get on with it. You are supported, and that learning process is built around, scaffolded to ensure success. Because we want people to be as successful as they want themselves.
But I think again, then, what that does, I think, is that the role of individual line managers is significant. That in essence, they are nominating and sponsoring an individual, and that it's very active. It's not a passive position at all, is it? I'd be interested to know how many people are on the call who are looking to do this themselves, and how many people are on the call in terms of looking. For myself, I'm looking at being able to support other people who are looking to undertake this, as opposed to doing it myself.
Yeah.
But how many people are on the call who are looking to undertake this and looking at it from a personal perspective? There's Marissa, Jay.
Can't see any other hands because they're just, okay. There's some.
You can see, but I guess there are other people who are not on video.
I mean, we did have 52 registered for the event, and I'd say out of the 52 there was maybe 5 learning and development managers, Denise. Okay. Other than that, so the audience, we were first of all we were going to aim it at learning development managers, but then we decided we wanted to invite people that were interested in the course as well, so it was an open one. But I'd say there's about 45 people that were working majority from MenCap and Red Cross, that, you know, we knew that we've had meetings with you and Red Cross that were interested in learning. But a lot of the Red Cross people haven't been able to make it because of course of emergencies. So I'd say we've had, you know, I'd say maybe half of that is going to convert into people coming on the course. I'd hope there'd be about 20 people.
No, I mean, that's great. But I guess from my perspective, the thing that really interests me more than anything else is curriculum. And so the apprenticeship element of it, I think, you know, I've got down as an L&D manager. I manage our levy, but and that's why I'm all about what the tailoring, because it is about tailoring that curriculum. It's the flexibility, I think, within the standard of an apprenticeship that allows that to happen. And of course, I appreciate that in terms of the academia, a lot of that, you know, there's a lot set, but there's a great deal of flexibility in the practice. And I think I'm, you know, quite up on the practice element, but sort of bow to the academia of the university. And I guess I just want to have an understanding of how we work together to make it a great learning experience for anyone coming on to this qualification. You know, I don't want to feel totally lost inside the gargantuan world of academia, if you like.
No, that's our job, to feel totally lost inside the gargantuan world of academia. We do. I mean, I mentioned the capability of the degree apprenticeship team, and it is something that we are used to do. You know, we work with big organisations. Co-op Retail have a tailored group of people going through a CMDA program. Barclays, other organisations. So we're responsive to employers' input. We're not stuck in some ivory tower. And you know, I speak not just about myself. I'm talking about the team who run Degrees at Work and the apprenticeship team. They know that stuff, so that I don't have to. And the ability to tailor obviously is bounded by learning outcomes and that kind of thing. But in terms of flexibility that we offer, where we can offer any flexibility, we always want to, because for me, it's not about just the bit of paper that you get at the end of the course. It's about having impact right now on your organisation, on the individual, on the organisation's capability, and on the people, the beneficiaries of that organisation. So if it's doing that, that's music to my ears. When I get feedback from students saying that, yeah, I did this, and we were able to keep this centre going, we were able to start this new project through the course, then that's what it's all about. So you can rest assured that it's not a meat grinder. You know, we're very conscious of the need for that tailoring and support. I'm also conscious of the time. So is there
Can I just say one more thing about?
Okay, go on. Yeah.
So Denise, the final major project is something that we could tailor with you and work with you on, because me and Andy, we were discussing that, weren't we? Yeah. If there is a subject or a project that you wanted that individual to learn, then we can set that assignment as that in the final major project. Is that what you're sort of meaning about how we can tailor it to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, we're quite a diverse organisation. We have fundraising, we have campaigns teams, we have comms teams. So we have, and it really is that. But again, I reinforce the importance of having the line manager involved, because I've got an umbrella view. And it is my ability to be able to work with the specific line managers that help that tailoring. They are the people with the knowledge, the understanding, the strategic perspective that we would be looking to support through that particular project area. And again, none of us, not anybody on this call, I mean, the beauty of having the apprenticeship is nothing should go to waste. Everything is utilised in practice. We don't have the time to be able to be doing something that we do. It may be wonderful and we may learn through it, but ultimately, you know, we shelf. And this is really about how we use in our everyday lives. And I guess that's what I mean, is that we are doing something really meaningful that supports the function. We're learning and able to achieve a wonderful qualification, but we can actually see, you know, how that manifests itself in practice. So
Yeah.
that
I'm going to get you to write the poster. I think this is very well put, and I think a good point to finish. I know people have got other calls to make.
Yeah, we
Erica or myself would be happy to receive. You've got my email. If you've got my email this morning, love to hear from you with any questions, any detailed, more information than we can give out right now. Thanks for coming in these difficult times. I'm going to stop recording now.